So we are going to talk about building blocks for better brain health. That's time and date. So this is all the different things we need to do to keep our brains healthy. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the brain. So 86 billion neurons. So I know we're in this very fancy age of computers and AI and all that other stuff. But the human brain still, so far at least, outcompetes any supercomputer that human beings have made so far, right? So yes, supercomputers can calculate stuff faster and this, that, whatever, but they haven't figured out how to do all the other stuff that our brain does. And so if you have 86 billion neurons and you have all this interconnectivity, you can see that you get almost an exponential amount of ability to absorb memories, learn new things, train your muscles in a different way, sleep better, etc., break habits, etc. So there's 180 distinct regions in the brain that help us with movement, complex calculations, memory, imagination. Realistically, like if you took neurology, first day of neurology in med school, you would learn that there's really about 20. There's your temporal lobes, occipital lobes, parietal lobes, cerebellum, etc., etc. The reason they say 180 is because then within the temporal area, they break it into, is it supratemporal, is it upper, is it temporal that deals with upper extremities, lower extremities, motor function, spine, axial function, etc. And so each one of those 20 areas of the brain has, is responsible for another 80 or 90 different things. And again, it is our CPU, so until AI takes our brains over, we're still smarter than AI.
Coming.
So the funny thing about our brain, though, is you have to ask yourself, why don't we take better care of it? So almost 800,000 people every year have a stroke in the U.S. Strokes are 99% of the time preventable. We have 10 million new cases of dementia each year, and we are learning that dementia is, with the exception of people who are genetically predisposed, dementia is also a preventable disease. And even the people, so there's a gene you have called ApoE4. And if you have all 4 alleles of ApoE4, your chance of developing dementia over the course of your life is 80%, which is really high.
Can you test for that?
You can't. But that means there's 20% that don't. And even within that 80, we studied them and they weren't, these are people that lived 20, 30 years past. So some of them were still smoking, they were still eating fatty meals. So that 80% might have been even less had we been able to separate out, well, which of those did healthy lifestyle versus not. So despite knowing all this, obesity's gone up. 14% of people continue to smoke. Physical inactivity is considered now a national epidemic, and 80% of people, and I don't like the word stress, because we all have stress, everybody has stress. My kids have stress, right? They think high school is really stressful and all of us would laugh and chuckle at that, but remember when you were in high school, it seemed pretty darn stressful, right? And all my kids can say is, once I graduate, I'll be in college. And college was, they look at my college age kids and like, oh, it's so much fun. And my college age kids are going, oh, I wish I was back in high school again. And they all come and they bitch at the dinner table and I'm like, yeah, wait till you get a mortgage and you got health insurance bills and all that crap, right? And then you got to be my dad. My dad's like, oh, I can't wait till I retire. And retires, like, I got nothing to do. It sucks, right? So we have stress throughout the course of our life. The question is not, are you going to have stress or not? The question is, can you manage the stress you have? And there are certain stresses that are greater than others, and we all have a breaking point, right? I mean, when we have a close family member die, if you don't have a breaking point, there's probably a bigger problem you have. Children getting married are super exciting, but it's stressful. I just with Dr. Martin, who works part-time with us, his daughter just got married, and oh my God, I was like, dude, I'm gonna take you over to Brody's and buy you a drink. You need it, every day. So those stresses can be good. I don't like the word stress because we all have it. You've got to learn to manage it well. But I think what they're implying by 80% is 80% of people don't manage it very well. And so you guys will recognize this. We pretty much cover this in every single talk we do, right? There are 6 foundational pillars to your health. There is exercise, proper exercise. There's nutrition. There's stress management. There's mindfulness. There is sleep. And then we say social networks. It's making sure that the people around us are supportive of our way of life, right? So if your social network is going to the bar at 5 o'clock and drinking beer all night with your friends, that's probably going to disrupt all these other ones, right? And although that is occasionally nice to meet your friends after work for a drink, but you can't do that all the time, right? If you meet your friends in the gym every day at 5 o'clock, then that covers some bases there. But even that, if that's an all-day, everyday thing and you're neglecting family obligations, then that's not good. So everything's this nice little balance that we've got to keep. But we would like to think that our social networks are supportive of us and we're supportive of them. Again, I mentioned that book to you. There's a book called Cure by Jo Marchant. And she is a researcher and went through and researched all the different methodologies of healing, faith healing, touch healing, weird stuff like Reiki, placebo effect, etc. And you guys have probably heard of blue zones. So blue zones, there's, depending on who you believe, there's 5 to 8, depending on who you believe with their thing. But they all agree that blue zones are where people live to a very advanced age at very well, right? So these people are 97, they're gardening with their kids, they're walking to the mailbox a mile down the road and back, they're reading books at night. Well, when they went to study the blue zones, the epidemiologists found the single most inconsistent variable of them living to an advanced age well was not smoking, it was not diet, it was not exercise, it was maintaining good social networking. So in our country, we think we're really good kids if we put our parents in a nice nursing home, right? And we go visit them once a week and say, hey, we're really good kids. In other countries, in blue zones, grandma comes back into the house. She washes dishes, she helps to babysit, she walks the kids to the bus stop. She is an integral part of the family. And that correlated more closely than any other thing that we did as far as living nice now.
My mom would be glad to hear that.
Yeah, there you go. So here's exercise. We're going to cover that first. So inactivity, science basically says there's no doubt we correlate physical activity with the development of Alzheimer's disease and stroke. One of the very interesting things, and those of you who we've done the wellness exam on in the last year, you've probably heard my little spiel, but we talk a lot about inflammation. And when we try to prevent disease, if we lump all the diseases we know we can prevent, they basically fall into 4 categories: cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, aneurysm; dementia and or degenerative neurologic disease. So what we're learning is that things like Parkinson's and MS and dementia may all have a single root cause. So they start here with very similar factors that trigger degenerative neurologic disease, and they get to a certain point and they diverge into dementia, they diverge into Parkinson's, they diverge into MS. Well, if our form of medicine we want to try to do is root cause, then the answer is don't treat the Parkinson's, the dementia, or the MS. Go back and treat whatever's initiating that cause to begin with. And physical activity is one of those. In another study, mice fed a really high-fat diet showed memory deficits and plaque deposition, which is prevented in mice that had access to a running wheel. So we love to torment mice, but we overfeed one group of mice, we don't overfeed the other group of mice. We find this one develops dementia and plaques, and then we take that group of mice and you say, well, we've done it, but now we're going to make you exercise your butt off on a wheel, and they found out they could reverse it a lot of times. And we've done those studies in humans too, right? That's what if you guys know Dr. Ornish, who does all that stuff, that's what he got his claim to fame in medicine for, was he published a study on a group of patients who were scheduled for